Russia is continuing its assault on the Ukrainian port city of Odesa. Overnight, at least 2 people were injured in a strike on a grain terminal. The attack also destroyed a large amount of food stored there, and it marks Moscow's 4th consecutive day of attacks on the port cities in Ukraine. Charlie D'Agata is in Kyiv, joining me now with more on this. This is perhaps should not come as a surprise. Russia had warned of this, but how significant is the damage in Odesa?
Yeah, Anne-Marie, it is significant. Significant on so many levels. First of all, it hit that grain silo. 60,000 tons of grain were destroyed, according to Ukrainian officials here, enough to feed 300,000 people. That in itself is significant. But in addition to that, it's also crippled the export areas in places like Odessa and places like Mykolaiv, these 2 port cities that have been hammered for the past 3 nights in a row. So it's not just breaking down the infrastructure, going after the grain itself. And we also have to point out, we may get the impression that all of Ukraine is at war. Odessa has been hit before in the past, Mykolaiv too. But what we saw over the past sort of 72 hours, a little bit more than that, is something that is next level. It's an escalation. And we have to also remember the fact that the Russians have got a blockade on the Black Sea, and they're not lifting that blockade now. As of yesterday, the deadline ran out where there was an agreement that Ukrainian ships could pass freely through those waters. So this is really a 2-pronged attack, not only hitting those port cities, the grain distribution centers, the grain itself, but also stopping those ships from moving through those waters.
And then what I keep thinking is, even if Russia decides to come back into the deal, if they continue to destroy the infrastructure in these port cities, then those cities are not going to be able to come back at the full capacity that they were operating at before.
Exactly, and that's why it's not just where is the Russian military hitting, because according to the Kremlin, they said this is in retaliation for the attack on that bridge leading to Crimea. Well, it's a located and specific retaliation. It's a retaliation around the Black Sea, not just when it's happening, but where it's happening. It's happening right on those ports in order to cripple Ukraine's capacity and the ability to move grain and the grain storage that's already in place. And this is such an impact on global grain. We have sunflower, they have wheat, they have all kinds of grains that feed the world, including developing nations. So Russia knows full well the impact that this is going to have on global prices. And if there was going to be retaliatory strikes, I was here the last time there was an attack on that bridge leading to Crimea. They hit something like 12 cities overnight, and that was massive across the entire country. This is very specific, very located, aiming at those port cities at a time when grain has become one of the biggest issues in this conflict.
Let me ask you about something else. The CIA director raising some concerns or questions, if you will, about Putin's control over Russia. After the rebellion, in particular, carried out by the Wagner Group last month. What else has the CIA shared about the revolt and where the leader of the Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, may be now?
Yeah, well, so William Burns, right? He addressed the Aspen Security Forum, and he essentially said this is a man, Yevgeny Prigozhin, and his Wagner Group that were able to launch, however we want to describe it, a mutiny, but to get within to 200 miles of Moscow itself and get in a position where, and the Kremlin has already said this, they kind of had to negotiate with Prigozhin and his Wagner Group. The suggestion is that there are cracks in the hold that President Putin may have over Russia, over his own generals. And in terms of Yevgeny Prigozhin, there was a sort of grainy video that appeared in the past 24, 48 hours where he's in Belarus. And we know now that a lot of the Wagner Group, and this is significant, by the way, when we talk about the Wagner Group, this isn't a group of individuals. This is 30,000 battle-hardened, well-equipped, incredibly dedicated. That's really important. They're dedicated to the Wagner Group, not necessarily to Russia itself. They move over to Belarus. We knew those movements were happening. We had plenty of intelligence about that Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, had said that himself. And then we see Yevgeny Prigozhin say, okay, we're not only going to be part of a military corps that will be training the Belarusian troops, but he sort of hinted, well, not sort of, he did hint that when his Wagner Group is ready to rejoin the conflict here in Ukraine, that when the time comes, they will do that. And he also berated Russian forces, saying it was a disgrace as far as how they are progressing or not progressing in this conflict. So, yes, he has reared his head again right on the horizon. We also have to point out that Belarus is different geographically speaking. We're in Kyiv right now. Belarus is very close, closer here than parts of Russia are to the capital city. So that's why people here are keeping a close eye on what's going on there in terms of Yevgeny Prigozhin, in terms of the Wagner Group, and in terms of Belarus as to whether it's going to be a significant player in this region.
Fascinating, and I'm one of those people that is surprised that Yevgeny Prigozhin is still around at this point. But you never know how this is going to turn. Charlie, thank you very much.